Hi, and welcome to Let's Get Distracted, episode 33. Tonight, we're going to talk about gut health. First, I'm Michelle Burke, coming to you live from Annapolis, Maryland. Many of you know that after 30 years in the corporate tax world, I went out on my own in January and formed Healthandtaxes. I come to you live every Sunday night to bring you something educational on the health side. And tonight, like I mentioned, we are going to talk about gut health and how that helps boost the immune system. So with me, I have a special guest. She's been on once before, so I'm very excited to have her back. So please welcome Sharon Holand Gelfand. Welcome, Sharon.
Well, thanks, Michelle. It's a pleasure to be here. Love hanging with you.
Yes, it's great having you back. Are you in New York tonight, or where are you coming from tonight?
I'm actually in Jersey City tonight, and I'm looking out the window. We're literally right on the Hudson, so a gorgeous view of the skyline. It's a little foggy, but it's so beautiful.
Oh, I love that you can see the skyline. Robin's joining us.
Robin.
Hey, Robin, thanks for joining us. We
Nice
got
to see
Susan
you.
here as well.
Susan.
So let me just pop that. Oh, we got Loudon as well. So we've got a crowd out there. Thank you guys for
hanging with you, Michelle. See,
thank you, folks.
It's so nice to. It's easy, right? It's just easy.
Absolutely. So let me introduce Sharon to our listeners here. So Sharon's a healthcare disruptor, speaker, and an author. As a certified functional nutritionist, she transforms lives by healing guts. She gets to the root of your common health complaints and hidden stressors. And hidden stands for hormone, immune, digestive, detox, endocrine, and neurological. By testing, not guessing, and incorporating lifestyle shifts filled with more energy and less stress. When her son was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, she decided to tackle his condition by going to graduate school, where she completed a master's in clinical nutrition and subsequently changed careers, her family's health, and their lives. Through applied gut and hormone testing and lifestyle shifts, you can reverse your diagnosis, manage conditions naturally, reclaiming your health, and most importantly, your life. So with that, welcome, Sharon.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm thinking, like, who is that person? I'm looking around to see if I can find her.
She's right there in the room with you.
Right there. Oh my God.
Well, Sharon, we want to talk about boosting your immune system. Whoops.
Everything okay there? Did your cat do something? And the texts come in. You're on mute. There you go.
Hear me now?
Yes.
All right. So we had a cat jump out of my lap and took him. So you and to our listeners for that. I knew he usually likes to jump up and but that's so funny. We were laughing beforehand about, at least it's not a dog and he won't start barking, but I wasn't expecting that.
What will a cat do? Well, now we know what a cat will do.
That's too funny. So now, on a serious note, boosting your immune system by tuning into your gut. Sharon, first, let's tell us a little bit more about your story and your journey.
Okay, so I knew nothing about health and nutrition. To me, being healthy was a bran muffin from Dunkin' Donuts and iceberg lettuce. I don't think I really cared for any vegetables, but I was working. I was a banker, had a business with my former husband, and to me, I always had the blinders on. It's like 1 + 1 = 2. I was raised to be a certain way, to do everything just in an orderly fashion, without asking questions, without thinking about what I want. So when my son was diagnosed with Crohn's, it was like this big jolt of what what is this disease? I knew nothing about it, but I do remember asking the doctor, well, should, because we put him on medicine, and I said, what about food? She goes, don't worry about food. The medicine will take care of it. And it was kind of like, that moment where you're like, something doesn't sit right. My gut instinct was like, but she was the expert. So what did I know? It's like, okay. Within a week, my son got worse. And he complained and cried to me. He was 12 and a half at the time, that it was the medicine. And the doctor insisted it was the disease. And I'm kind of like stuck between my son and the expert. What does my 12-year-old son know? What does the expert know? And I just heard these voices that were like screaming at me, like, why aren't you listening to your son? And I kind of like woke up and said, why aren't I? And so I decided to listen to him. We took him off the medicine. We eventually found another doctor. But before that, we ended up finding a better medicine. My son was right. It was the medicine that was making him worse. And it was in that moment that I thought, oh my God, he listened to his body. Like, I know nothing about this. So of course, then I'm on Dr. Google for 5 hours trying to get all the answers. I was more confused and overwhelmed, not knowing anything, right? We all do that. We go to Dr. Google for all the answers. And then we read things and we just don't know where to go from there. I just remember turning to my sister, who's a doctor. And don't get me wrong, doctors are amazing. They save lives. Like, thank God for doctors. Because honestly, thank God for my son's pediatrician, who kind of started to keep an eye on this almost 6 months before he actually was diagnosed. Yeah. So they're amazing. But I remember turning to my sister and saying, I need to go to grad school. I need to get a master's. I want to understand what's going on. It was one of those moments, just like before, I was like, wait, who just said that? Like, me? My kids were at this point in high school, because it took a few years for me to kind of like try to figure this out. So long story short, I did. And what I noticed was that there was just so much that I didn't know. And I mean, we're all smart. It's like we think we know what we know. And I didn't realize that I had been compartmentalizing my own health issues. I had IBS, I had eczema, I had migraines. I was taking shots for migraines. I had anemia, I had a hypoglycemia. I was constantly getting sinus infections and strep throat, but I was healthy. None of my doctors.
We just tell ourselves we're healthy. Yeah.
Right? None of my doctors just didn't even, they were like, yeah, you're fine. Nobody ever said like, oh my God, you're sick, you're this. Just like, yeah, pop a pill, do this, take that. But with this, I realized that there was so much I wasn't paying attention to. And so in addition to helping my son, who is still on a medication, but a lot better, I got rid of every single one of my issues. And on top of that, what I realized was that I had been yo-yo dieting since I probably hit puberty. And for the first time in my life, I stopped dieting and I lost weight, and I was able to get rid of like all the different sizes of jeans in my closet, right? You have your fat days, your period days, your thin days. And a business was born, and then from there, my book, because I started to notice so many patterns that were repeating with all of my clients that were just missing the mark with everything that they were doing. And here we are.
Wow, quite a story. And I know, as a parent, you're concerned, you want to help your son, you want to do the right thing. And I love that you even went that extra mile, like, what is really going on here? I really want to know what's going on here, and did that. And I agree with you. There are a lot of great doctors. The one thing is doctors don't study nutrition, and there's been a bigger push to start educating them more on nutrition and the importance of good nutrition. And I'm hopeful there's kind of a sea change, and they'll start being more there just to learn how nutrition is impacting us. And there's been so much more research now on how the gut and the brain, the gut is really our second brain, right? And they're talking to each other.
Yeah.
So, So we're going into the holidays. People are going to have a tendency to overindulge, maybe not treat their gut so well. So just thinking about that, what are some suggestions you have as we approach the holiday? What should people maybe be thinking about as they...
Well, it's a great question. And I really like that you said overindulge, because you actually have to look at it as an indulgence, right? Because that's what it is. And I think the first thing is that mindset and the awareness of not looking at beating yourself up on what you may cheat on, or having too much stuffing or dessert or whatever. But I think especially with winter, especially when you're in the Northeast, or if you're in high elevation altitude, it's making sure that your body's properly hydrated. And part of this whole thing with the gut and our immune system is, and we it's like stuff that we really kind of know, is how sugar does feed on, or I should say the bad bacteria. There's like trillions of bacteria in the gut. And if you actually take the intestines and spread them out, they look like sausage links. It'd be the length of a third of a football field.
Yeah.
And what we're not realizing is that because there's like so many bacteria, they're kind of dictating, when you say it's the second brain or the first brain, it's dictating the craving. So we want to go for the sugar. We want to go for these warm foods because it's wintertime. And so we eat more, or we overeat because we're hibernating, we're staying inside. And all of these processed foods and the sugars are breaking down our system even more. So our immune system starts to degrade. And, for me, it's not even so much like saying, no, you can't, right? Because it's like telling a child, don't put your hand on the hot stove, right? Of course they're going to put their hand on the hot stove because you told them not to. Now they're curious. So of course they're going to try, and then they're going to scream, they burn their finger. I mean, I did it. It's like, and the key is, what can I feed my body and give my body so that I can build up my immune system, so that when I do want to indulge, I can enjoy it too, but not let it feel like it's taking over my life. So what that looks like is certainly being hydrated, but it's also about what foods can I bring in, and a lot of really good grounding, and especially in the wintertime, like the ginger, the garlic, and onions, turmeric. And so a lot of people are like, well, I've got SIBO, or I have to be on a low FODMAP. I can't have garlic. I can't have onions. I can't have all these things. There are also other things like milk thistle and dandelion root that you can either buy dandelion root as a green and chop it up in a salad, or drink teas, making golden tea, that has these anti-inflammatory properties. But also it's really important, and this is where a lot of times we can sometimes not know where to go, is that it's not just the gut, it's also the liver.
Right.
Because your liver is, think of your body or your liver as like a bathtub. So the liver is a beautiful organ. It's so intuitive, right? So it helps to produce bile for the gallbladder. It helps to digest your enzymes. Metabolize your fats, proteins, and carbs. And it's also smart because it's trying to filter out all of the toxins. And it's not just food toxins, it's what we breathe, it's the products on our skin, it's the wine.
Right.
So and then if it can't detoxify properly, it'll store it in your fat cells. So when that happens, that's the bathtub filling up and overflowing because the body's not able to clear the pipes properly. And that's where the support comes in, because if you can support the liver while supporting the gut, then your body can flow more easily. Things don't get backed up and get flushed back into your bloodstream. So that's where even bringing in radishes or a lot of celery juice, and dandelion root, that's why people say like dark green leafy vegetables heal, because they're so alkalizing. I could go on, so I'm going to pause.
Okay. First, I've never thought of my liver as a bathtub, so I love that. And now I have a visual. And to be honest, I drink a tea every morning that has dandelion root in it. It says for liver health, but I hadn't focused on it so much as how important it is to work with that gut health as well. So I think that's I think that's a really great point. And now we all have a visual on our livers, and I like it. The other thing you played off a little bit is that overindulging. People are going into the holidays, and let's talk about sugar a little more, because I know some people think yogurts are a really good thing for the gut, and yet if they're loaded with sugars, they're not so good. So just talk a little bit about sugars and what it's doing to our health.
So sugars in terms of yogurt or just in general?
In general, what it's doing to our gut, but then I was just using yogurt as an example because I know a lot of people think they're doing good for their gut when they're eating yogurt, and yet it has 20 plus grams of sugar in it.
Yeah, no, it's true. I never think of I know, Leighton, I never used to think of my liver either. Nobody does. Now you're not going to stop thinking about it. And I'm going to add something else at the end that you're going to be like, oh my God. Anyway, let's get back to sugar right now. So, it is the fact that there are science now that has come out about how sugar it's like crack cocaine, right? It's as addictive as crack cocaine because it lights up your neurotransmitters and makes you feel good. So dopamine gets released when you have sugar. It's like, oh, I feel good. But then it's like, so you get this high, it raises your blood sugar levels, it raises the insulin. And then once you're done, your blood sugar crashes, right? So now it needs a fix and becomes this vicious cycle. And it throws off your body's ability or inability to produce the right amount of insulin, because even before you have that next boost of sugar, you're already salivating and you're already tasting what that is, and your body's already starting to release insulin in preparation for it. So when you have more insulin being pumped out, your levels start to rise, like your base level starts to rise. So if you hear people saying like, oh, insulin resistance, or my metabolic level has gone up a little bit, it's because of that. Because as it rises, then your body's releasing more insulin, your pancreas is releasing more insulin to try to stave off the sugar and digest it and not digest it, to bring it into the cells. And then for the liver to try to get rid of the rest. So it becomes this vicious cycle. And this doesn't discriminate. So it's not like you look at people who are overweight. 1 in 3 people, doesn't matter how skinny, fat, short, tall you are, 1 in 3 people are being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
So it's frightening because it doesn't discriminate. So, it's like you think, yeah, I'm healthy. What's the big deal if I have a couple of cookies? Just the idea of thinking of it starts everything in motion. And when your body starts craving it, it just becomes this chaos, right? Metabolic chaos in your body. Whereas if you then think, well, I want to have a little bit, but what else can I bring in? So the idea is, if I'm going to have this, let me bring something else in, because the more nutritious, nutrient-dense foods you bring in, more of those cravings will get kicked out the back. And then your gut will realize, like, I don't need it. And it can start to heal, along with some supplements that you probably do need. Not you, I'm just in general.
Yeah, so I like that. Don't just say no, but think of a way to provide extra nutrition in there at the same time, and then you won't have quite the same cravings. I like thinking about it that way.
Yeah. I always ask my clients, like, how fast do you want to go? Because if we're going to walk, it'll take longer, and that's okay, because it needs to fit your lifestyle, and we need to have the flexible food choices. But if you want to run and you want to be prepared to run, like, this is what it'll take, right? Because it's about understanding. When you can understand why and what, then at least you can be prepared and have it fit your lifestyle, so that it becomes just that, a lifestyle.
Yeah. And I read something recently, and it made a lot of sense too. Instead of focusing on having or not having, have it, but 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, 30 minutes later, think about how did that make me feel?
Yeah.
Do I feel good? Is it worth feeling this way? So the next time I go to have it, oh yeah, now I remember how that made me feel.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not the best choice. Is it worth it? Is that second on my lips,
Absolutely.
Is it worth it?
And that's what I talk about in my book. So my book that just came out, The Gut Method, Secrets Beyond Your Plate, right, for a healthier, more energetic life. The gut is actually an acronym for G, getting connected to exactly what you're saying. What am I eating? How am I feeling? How is it making me feel an hour, 3 hours, 5 hours, next day, later? And making those connections, because once you get connected to those symptoms physically, mentally, emotionally, and understand the U part of understanding, and then taking action, the T is taking action and saying, oh, you know what? I drink that wine. It's like I wake up with like a sugar hangover. Do I really want to feel that lousy? And then it's like, well, maybe there's a healthier option.
Yes, as we know.
As we know. And it's all about that. And there are a lot of exercises in the book. So you actually walk through everything so that you can connect the dots, because nobody gave us a manual for our health. We get manuals for, well, not a manual, but like what to expect when you're expecting, when you're pregnant. But there's no manual like how to take care of your engine. Like a car has one, right? Nobody's given us one. So I've created one to help you, and we're all different, to help you get to what's going on, and then decide, you know what, maybe I need a hair analysis, maybe I need to this test or that test or whatever it means, because we're all different.
Yeah, so Sharon, congratulations on the release of your book, The Gut Method. It's really exciting. I know the last time you were here, you were in the process of wrapping it up. So I'm very excited that you got it out, and it's out there now for Christmas. And I just want to highlight what you were saying. You've kind of given us this step-by-step process we can go through to check our gut and to check in with our body, and give us kind of a how-to guide. I love that, because you're right. We don't find that out there.
Yeah. We're so disconnected, and we're throwing spaghetti at the wall, and we're trying to get answers from the experts, whoever they are to you. And it's about, let me tune in, and it's like, what do I need for me? And also the gut method, I actually have a free 3-part video series that talks a little bit more about nutrition labels and mindset, and also the vagus nerve, which is so important actually in the whole rest and digest and health aspect, which is again something now even newer that I'm starting to explore, to share with my clients, because there's so much to know. Robin, what is that healthier option? To what?
Yeah, Robin, I think we lost the thought. I'm not sure which one you were referring to there. So
would love to discuss gut health on a taboo talk.
Oh, well, we'll follow up with that. Alon has a great show, Taboo Talk. So maybe we can hook you up to be a guest on that.
Would love it. The vagus nerve, yes. So that's such a huge part of the. I mean, we'd have to talk about that another time because it's so much. But yes, vagus nerve is stimulation, being able to be in the rest of digest, so that you're not in the fight or flight. Which listen. All right, I'm gonna no. All right, stop, Sharon.
There is just so much good information out there. So I want to encourage our listeners to go out and go on this website and check out Sharon's book, and check out the information she has there. And tell us a little bit more. You mentioned a 3-part series. When's that coming up, and how's that work?
That's actually if you go to the Gut Method, that's where you can get the 3-part video series. I'll be quite honest, because this is like the book just came out a few weeks ago. I think I don't know if you can actually buy the book on the Gut Method. I have to ask my web guy if it's actually been connected. But if you go to the Gut Method and opt in, that's where you get your 3-part video series that I show you, just like nutrition labels, simple things of like what to look for, and another video about the vagus nerve, and then the whole mindset. But the book is on Amazon, so certainly the Gut Method, Secrets Beyond Your Plate. I had to think for a second. For a healthier, more energetic life is on Amazon.
Great, and I'll post this link in the comments when we wrap up here, so people can find it. Lawden is saying it's very informative, and she appreciates that.
You're so welcome. Thank you for listening.
So, in the interest of time, we're going to kind of wrap up. It was really great information, really something to be thinking about as we enter into the holidays. Do you have any final words you would like to share with our audience?
Yes, 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 and yes. Breathe. Breathe, breathe, breathe. We don't breathe properly. We breathe too much in, up here in our chest when it should be in our body. And if we would just breathe a little bit more and just tune in and go through this holiday season of what we're grateful for, there's just so much good that we can do for ourselves, and just adding in and flipping things and always looking for gratitude. Oh, Susan, thank you. Thank you. And just thanks for being here. Thank you, Robin Joy Myers. Love that girl. Love you all. It's just been wonderful. So that's how I would leave everybody with, gratitude, breathing, and there's always a way to heal.
Super great information. Thank you, Sharon, for sharing the things that you shared with us today. And I so agree, as we go into the holidays and after this crazy year, let's just take a few moments to reflect on what we can be grateful for and continue to be grateful for. Because if nothing else, there are things that we can be grateful for in this year. So,
absolutely.
So thank you for joining me. Thank you, audience, for tuning in with us. I will be back again next Sunday at 7:30. My next guest will be Winsome Brown. She'll be returning to talk to us about 10 early warning signs on dementia. So be sure to tune in for that. Another very important topic for all of us.
Absolutely.
But, thank you again. And
thank you.
It was great having you. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining.